Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today, and this one is going to be all about ontology
Ooh,
and its role in AI.
nice.
Now, ontology, that might sound a little intimidating, right? A
Oh,
little bit
a
academic,
little bit.
but I think you'll find it's actually super interesting, especially when we're thinking about AI.
Yeah, it's a really cool topic.
So we've got a bunch of articles and research here about ontology and AI, and our mission is to try to distill it down to the most important takeaways so that by the end you'll understand what ontology is,
Absolutely.
why it matters, and how it's being used in AI.
Yeah, and I think one of the really cool takeaways you'll find is that, they say AI gets better with more data, right?
Right.
And that's not always true.
Yeah.
And ontology helps us understand how to make AI better without just like throwing more data at the problem.
Yeah, and ontologies can actually help us kind of figure out what that data actually means.
Yeah, the why behind the what is
Right.
really important.
Okay, so before we get too far, let's back up and define what ontology actually is.
Sure. So, ontology, it's a word that comes from philosophy.
Right.
And in philosophy, it's the study of being, what exists, how do we categorize things, how are they related to each other.
Okay.
And in AI, what we've done is kind of taken that idea and made it practical.
So instead of pondering the meaning of life, we're figuring out,
Yeah, exactly.
the relationship between cats and dogs.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
we're defining those basic concepts and connections so that AI can reason about the world more like a human would.
Got it. So an AI with a good ontology would understand that, cats and dogs are both pets, even if they have different characteristics.
Exactly. And even that, a cat is a type of mammal and a mammal is a type of animal.
Right.
We can build up this whole hierarchy of knowledge.
So it's like giving AI that basic common sense
Yeah, exactly.
understanding of the world that we take for granted.
Yeah, it's like giving them a basic understanding of how the world works.
Yeah, and I was reading one of the articles here, and it mentioned that a huge percentage of AS projects actually fail, like something like 85%.
Yeah, that's a crazy stat, isn't it?
It is, and often because they can't handle the sheer amount of data.
Yeah, data complexity is a huge issue for a lot of these projects.
Right, so could ontology help with that?
It definitely can. One of the main reasons AI projects fail is because they get bogged down in all that data.
Right.
Ontology gives us a way to structure the data and make it more manageable for AI.
So instead of drowning in the sea of data, the AI can use ontology to find the relevant information and actually understand what it means.
Exactly. It's like having a well-organized library instead of just a giant pile of books.
I love that analogy.
With a good ontology, AI can find the right book and understand the contents way more efficiently.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how that all fits together, but now I'm curious about the different ways these ontologies are used.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you give us some specific examples?
Absolutely. So, one simple example is something called WordNet.
Okay.
And it's basically a giant dictionary that maps out the relationships between words
Okay.
to like synonyms, antonyms, and things like that.
So using WordNet, an AI could understand that happy and joyful mean basically the same thing, even though they're different words.
Exactly. And it could also understand that hot and cold are opposites.
Got it.
So WordNet helps AI grasp those basic relationships.
Okay.
And that's essential for things like natural language processing.
That's pretty cool, but I'm guessing there are way more complex ontologies out there, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Ones that go beyond just understanding individual words.
Definitely. So there are much more comprehensive ontologies that are being used in AI research.
Okay.
Examples like Ontolingua and Psych.
Okay.
And these are designed to represent massive amounts of knowledge in a way that AI can actually understand and reason with.
Wow, that's impressive. So how are these more advanced ontologies actually being used? What kind of applications are we talking about?
Well, one major application is in creating something called knowledge graphs.
Okay.
And you can think of a knowledge graph kind of like a visual map, where each point represents a concept, and then the lines between them show the relationships between those concepts.
So a knowledge graph could show how all these different concepts in medicine are interconnected.
Exactly. Yeah, so like how different diseases are related to each other or how certain symptoms might point to a specific condition.
That's cool. So using these knowledge graph AI systems can actually start to understand those connections and even make predictions.
Right, exactly. So for example, a healthcare AI could use a knowledge graph to identify patients who might be at risk for certain diseases based on their medical history and symptoms.
That's amazing. It sounds like ontologies could revolutionize the way we diagnose and treat diseases.
Yeah, definitely. And, it's not just healthcare. We're seeing ontologies applied in a wide range of fields,
Like what?
from finance and manufacturing to education and customer service.
So how are ontologies being used in these other areas?
Well, let's take knowledge management, for example. A lot of organizations struggle with managing huge amounts of information, right?
Right.
Ontologies can help with that by providing a framework for organizing and categorizing all that information.
So instead of having information scattered across different departments and systems,
Right.
an ontology could bring it all together in a way that makes it easy to find and use.
Exactly. It's like creating a central library for all the organization's knowledge.
Okay.
Imagine a company with thousands of employees,
Yeah.
each with their own area of expertise.
Right.
An ontology could be used to map out who knows what within the company.
That would be so useful. No more like sending out mass emails trying to find the right person for a specific task.
Exactly. It streamlines knowledge sharing and makes the organization way more efficient.
That's a great example. What other areas are we seeing ontologies being applied in?
Well, another area is natural language processing, or NLP.
Ah, NLP, that's what powers all those cool chatbots and virtual assistants, right?
Yeah,
The
exactly.
ones that are getting more sophisticated all the time.
Right. And for those systems to be truly helpful, they need to understand the nuances of human language.
Yeah, it's not just about recognizing the words. It's about understanding what they actually mean in context.
Exactly. And ontologies can help them achieve that deeper understanding.
So, for example, imagine you're asking a chatbot a question like, what's the weather like in Paris?
Right.
An ontology could help the chatbot understand that Paris is a city, weather refers to atmospheric conditions,
Right.
and that you're asking for like a current weather report.
Exactly. So the ontology provides the background knowledge that the chatbot needs to make sense of your question
Okay.
and give you an accurate answer.
So it's like giving the chatbot a little bit of common sense about how the world works.
Exactly.
This is fascinating. Ontologies seem to be popping up everywhere in AI.
Yeah, they really are. They're a powerful tool for helping AI systems move beyond just processing data to actually understanding the world around them.
This has been so insightful. I'm starting to get a sense of the power of these ontologies and their role in the future of AI.
Me too. And, we've only scratched the surface here.
So where do we go from here? What other exciting areas are we going to explore?
Well, one thing I'm really excited to talk about is how ontologies are being used to enhance machine learning.
Ooh, yeah, that's where AI starts to feel really futuristic.
Exactly.
Machines learning from data and making predictions.
It is, and we'll also delve into the connection between ontologies and this idea of the semantic web,
Okay.
which is all about making the entire internet understandable to machines.
Wow, I can't wait to dive into all that. But for now, let's take a quick break to let all this awesome information sink in.
Sounds good.
We'll be back soon to continue our deep dive into the world of ontology and AI.
Awesome. See you in a bit.
Hashtag TTS The Deep Dive, episode 2025-02-23. Part 2 of 3. Welcome back to the deep dive. Before the break, we were talking about, how ontologies are being used in things like knowledge management and natural language processing.
Yeah.
But there's another aspect that I'm really curious about, and that's how these ontologies are actually enhancing machine learning.
Right.
That's where AI really starts to feel futuristic, right?
Yeah.
Machines learning from data-making predictions.
It is fascinating.
Yeah.
Machine learning has made incredible strides, but it definitely has its limitations.
Yeah.
One of the biggest challenges, I think, is that machine learning algorithms are only as good as the data that they're trained on.
Right. So if the data is like incomplete or biased or just messy,
Yeah,
then the machine learning algorithm isn't going to learn the right things.
exactly. It's like trying to learn a new language by just listening to a few random conversations.
Yeah.
You might pick up a few words and phrases, but you're probably not going to become fluent.
Right.
Machine learning algorithms need structure and context to really make sense of data.
So how do ontologies actually help with that?
Well, think about it this way. Let's say you're training a machine learning algorithm to diagnose diseases based on patient symptoms, right?
Okay.
There are countless possible symptoms and diseases, and the relationships between them can be super complex.
Yeah, even for a human doctor to sort through all that sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. It's incredibly complex.
Yeah.
But an ontology can provide a structured representation of all that medical knowledge.
Okay.
So it could define different types of diseases, their symptoms, and even the underlying biological mechanisms.
So the machine learning algorithm could use that ontology to understand that, okay, a fever, a cough, and a sore throat could all be symptoms of the flu.
Exactly. And it could then use that knowledge to make a more accurate diagnosis, even if the patient has some unusual symptoms or if some information is missing.
Wow.
It's like giving the algorithm a medical textbook to study
Yeah.
before it starts analyzing patient data.
That's incredible. So it's almost like ontologies can act as a guide for machine learning algorithms, helping them to see patterns and make connections that they might otherwise miss.
Exactly, and that can lead to more accurate predictions and better decision-making.
So we're seeing this applied in areas like drug discovery,
Absolutely. Drug discovery is a great example.
which is a field where even the smallest improvement could have a huge impact.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Developing new drugs is a really long and expensive process.
Yeah.
And, it often involves testing thousands of potential compounds before finding one that's safe and effective.
Right.
But machine learning is helping to speed up that process.
Okay.
But ontologies can make it even more efficient.
So how does that work?
Well, machine learning algorithms are really good at analyzing huge amounts of data about drug compounds, their biological targets, their effects, but that data can be really fragmented and incomplete.
Right. It's like having a jigsaw puzzle with some pieces missing.
Exactly, and that's where ontologies come in.
The ontology provides that framework.
The bigger picture.
Yeah, that helps you put those pieces together.
Yeah, exactly. An ontology could define, different types of drugs, their mechanisms of action, their potential side effects, even their interactions with other drugs.
Got it.
And that gives the machine learning algorithm a much richer understanding of the problem it's trying to solve.
So instead of just looking at data in isolation, the algorithm can use the ontology to figure out how different pieces of information relate to each other and make smarter predictions about which drug compounds are most likely to be successful.
Exactly. And that could lead to the development of new treatments for diseases that currently don't have a cure.
That's amazing. So it's not just about organizing data, it's about actually empowering AI to make smarter decisions that can actually benefit humanity.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just drug discovery. We're seeing ontologies being used in things like personalized medicine, where treatments are tailored to an individual's genetic makeup and lifestyle.
Yeah, personalized medicine is super interesting.
It's really cool.
It feels like the future of healthcare.
It does, but it also presents a huge data challenge.
How so?
To develop these personalized treatments, you need to analyze massive amounts of information about each individual patient.
Right, so it's like an explosion of data.
It is a data exclusion, and trying to make sense of all that data requires a sophisticated framework.
Okay.
And that's where ontologies come in again.
So ontologies can help AI systems organize and understand all that data and then make personalized recommendations.
Exactly. An ontology for personalized medicine could define different types of genetic variations, their potential links to diseases, and how they might interact with different medications and lifestyle choices.
It's like having a custom-designed treatment plan that takes everything about you into account.
That's the idea. And while we're still in the early stages of personalized medicine, ontologies are playing a key role in making it a reality.
This is mind-blowing. We've talked about ontologies in knowledge management, natural language processing, machine learning, and now personalized medicine. It seems like they have a role to play in pretty much every area of AI.
They really do. And as AI continues to evolve, I think we're only going to see ontologies become even more important.
So we've covered a lot of ground, but before we move on, you mentioned something else before the break, the semantic web. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Absolutely. So the semantic web is this really ambitious idea of making the entire internet understandable to machines.
Wow.
Right now, the internet is mostly designed for humans to use.
Right.
We can read web pages, watch videos, interact with online services, but machines have a much harder time understanding the meaning behind all that information.
Yeah, because to a computer, a web page is just a bunch of code.
Right.
It doesn't really understand the concepts and the relationships behind the words and images.
Exactly. So the semantic web is all about adding this layer of meaning on top of the existing web,
Okay.
using ontologies and other technologies to make web content machine readable and understandable.
So instead of just seeing a web page as a collection of text and images, a machine could actually understand that, okay, this is a news article about climate change, or this is a recipe for a chocolate cake.
Exactly. And with that deeper understanding, machines could do so much more for us. They could help us find information, more easily connect us with relevant content, and even automate tasks that currently require human intervention.
That would be amazing. It's like taking the internet to a whole new level of intelligence and usefulness.
That's the goal. And ontologies are a crucial part of making that happen.
Okay.
They provide the shared vocabulary and framework for representing knowledge on the web.
I see.
Imagine if every website, every document, every piece of data online was tagged with metadata that described its meaning using a common ontology.
That would be incredible. So if I'm searching for information about, let's say, electric cars, a search engine could use ontologies to understand that Tesla, Nissan Leaf, and Chevy Bolt are all types of electric cars, even if those specific names aren't in my search query.
Exactly. It could also understand that electric cars are related to things like renewable energy sustainability, reducing carbon emissions,
Right.
and it could use all that knowledge to give you much more comprehensive and relevant search results.
That would make searching for information so much easier and more effective.
Absolutely. No more wading through tons of irrelevant results or trying to think of every possible synonym for what you're looking for.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just searching.
Right.
The semantic web could also enable new forms of collaboration and knowledge sharing.
For sure.
Like imagine researchers from different fields being able to easily share and integrate their data, even if they use different terminology.
That's the idea. So like an economist studying the impact of climate change could easily collaborate with a climatologist studying the effects of greenhouse gases, even if they use different language to describe those phenomena.
Right, because the ontologies could bridge those gaps in terminology and allow them to actually connect the dots.
Exactly, and potentially make new discoveries.
This is really exciting stuff. It seems like ontologies aren't just about AI, they're about creating a more intelligent and interconnected world.
They are, and while the semantic web is still in its early stages of development, ontologies are really playing a key role in making that vision a reality.
It's clear that ontologies have this huge role to play in shaping the future, both in AI and beyond.
Mhm.
But as we're getting into these really complex topics, I'm wondering, are there any potential downsides or challenges associated with using ontologies?
That's a great question, and it's important to acknowledge that, like any powerful tool, ontologies need to be used thoughtfully and responsibly.
Right.
And there are definitely challenges to consider.
So what are some of the potential pitfalls we should be aware of?
Well, one challenge is just the sheer complexity of developing and maintaining ontologies.
Okay.
Creating an ontology that accurately reflects a specific domain of knowledge can be super time-consuming and resource-intensive.
Right.
It requires expertise both in the domain itself and in the principles of ontology engineering.
So it's not just a matter of having a computer scientist sit down and write some code. You actually need to involve experts from the field you're trying to model.
Exactly, and even once an ontology is created, it needs to be regularly updated and maintained as new knowledge emerges and the field changes.
So it's a lot of ongoing work.
It can be, and it really highlights the need for robust tools and methodologies for ontology development and management.
That makes sense. It's like building and maintaining these complex structures would require specialized expertise and constant effort. Are there any other challenges we should be thinking about?
Another challenge is the potential for ontologies to actually create silos of knowledge.
Okay, how so?
If different organizations or communities develop their own specialized ontologies, it can be difficult to share information and collaborate across those different groups.
So instead of creating a more interconnected world, we could end up with different AI systems speaking different languages.
That's the risk. It's really important to think about ways to promote interoperability between different ontologies
Right.
so that we can create this more connected and collaborative AI ecosystem.
We don't want to create new digital barriers just as we're breaking down physical ones.
Exactly. It's all about striking a balance between specialization and interoperability.
These are really important considerations as we move forward with developing and implementing ontologies. But I have to say, I'm still feeling really optimistic about the possibilities.
Yeah, me too. Ontologies really have the potential to revolutionize the way we interact with information, with technology, and with each other.
Okay, so we've talked about ontologies in knowledge management, natural language processing, machine learning, personalized medicine, and the semantic web. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what the future holds for ontologies and AI.
Yeah.
What are some of the most exciting developments that you see on the horizon?
Well, one area that I find really exciting is the development of more dynamic and adaptable ontologies.
Okay.
Traditional ontologies are often static and unchanging. They're created at a specific point in time, and then they're kind of used as this fixed framework for representing knowledge.
Right. The world is constantly changing, and our understanding of it is evolving.
Exactly. So how do we create ontologies that can actually keep pace with all that change?
That's a great question.
Researchers are exploring ways to make ontologies more flexible and dynamic so that they could incorporate new knowledge, handle inconsistencies, and even learn from their interactions with the world.
So instead of being like a rigid dictionary, an ontology could become more like a living, breathing organism that's constantly learning and adapting.
Exactly. It's a fascinating area of research with huge potential to create AI systems that are more resilient, adaptable, and capable of handling all the complexity of the real world.
I love that analogy. What other exciting developments are on the horizon?
Another area with immense potential is the development of hybrid AI systems that combine ontologies with other AI techniques like machine learning and deep learning.
So instead of seeing those as like separate approaches, we can start thinking about ways to integrate them and get the best of both worlds.
Exactly. Ontologies can provide the structured knowledge and reasoning capabilities that machine learning often lacks,
Okay.
while machine learning can bring the ability to learn from data and adapt to new situations.
That sounds like a really powerful combination. What kind of applications are we seeing for these hybrid systems?
Well, we're seeing some really cool results in areas like natural language processing, where ontologies can help machine learning models understand the nuances of human language,
Okay.
and in robotics, where ontologies can give robots a deeper understanding of the environments they operate in.
It's incredible to think about the possibilities. It seems like the future of AI is really about connecting the dots between these different approaches and creating systems that are greater than the sum of their parts.
I agree, and ontologies are going to play a key role in that integration process.
Okay.
They'll help us build AI systems that are not only intelligent, but also understandable and aligned with human values.
This has been such an incredible journey into the world of ontology and AI. I feel like I have a much better understanding of the power and the potential of these technologies.
Me too.
But before we wrap things up, I'd love to hear your final thoughts on just the significance of ontologies in the grand scheme of things.
That's a great question, and I think the significance of ontologies goes way beyond just AI.
Okay.
At their core, ontologies are really about understanding and representing knowledge.
So it's not just about building smarter machines.
Right.
It's about deepening our own understanding of the world.
Exactly. Ontologies can help us see connections that we might otherwise miss, challenge our assumptions, and even communicate more effectively with each other.
Okay.
And in a world that's increasingly complex and interconnected, those abilities are more important than ever.
That's a really beautiful thought. It seems like ontologies have the potential to not only change how we interact with technology, but also how we understand ourselves and the world around us.
I couldn't agree more. And as we move forward, it's super important that we continue to explore the possibilities of ontologies while also being really mindful of the ethical considerations and the need for responsible development.
Well said, ontologies are powerful tools, and it's up to us to use them wisely.
It's been a fantastic conversation.
I've learned so much today.
Like what?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of ontology and AI.
It's been my pleasure.
We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic.
Great.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning. Hashtag TTS The Deep Dive Episode 2025-82-23, Part 3 of 3. Welcome back to The Deep Dive. We've spent this whole deep dive exploring the world of ontology and AI, and I'm ready to wrap things up with this final part.
Me too. It's been quite a journey.
It has. So, I always like to end these deep dives with a thought-provoking question, something that'll get our listeners thinking about the bigger picture. So what do you have for us today?
Okay, well, we've talked about ontologies as these frameworks for knowledge, as ways to represent the world for AI systems, right?
Right.
But here's a question to think about. If ontologies are like these maps of reality, who gets to be the cartographer?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Who decides how that map is drawn?
It really makes you think about the power dynamics at play
Right?
when we're defining these ontologies.
Exactly. The decisions we make about what to include, what to leave out, how to categorize information, that all has a huge impact on how AI systems perceive the world and interact with it.
So, if a tech company creates an ontology for their social media platform, are they shaping the way millions of people experience and understand the world through that platform?
They definitely have an influence. And it's not just social media. Think about ontologies for self-driving cars or medical diagnosis systems. The people designing those ontologies are making decisions that will have real-world consequences.
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility. It makes you realize how important it is to have diverse perspectives involved in the development of ontologies.
Absolutely.
We need to make sure those maps of reality reflect a wide range of viewpoints and values.
Couldn't agree more. It's crucial to have people from different backgrounds, disciplines, cultures, all contributing to the creation of these ontologies.
Right.
We need to make sure that these frameworks for AI are inclusive and representative of all the different ways that humans experience the world.
So it's about making sure that the future of AI is shaped by all these different voices.
Exactly.
Not just a select few.
And as AI becomes more and more integrated into our lives,
Yeah.
it's crucial that we have these open and inclusive conversations about the ethical implications of these technologies,
Right.
including the ontologies that underpin them.
That's a really powerful message to end on.
Yeah.
It reminds us that while we're exploring all these exciting possibilities of AI, we also need to be thoughtful and responsible in our approach.
Well said.
This has been such an incredible deep dive, and I feel both inspired and a little overwhelmed by all the possibilities.
It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the world of ontology and AI.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, thanks for tuning into the deep dive. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.